Yo, what is good, guys? How is everyone doing? Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Hope you're doing well. Hope you've had a good Thursday so far. I know I have. Been looking at some trades. Really haven't seen much. There's been a few good setups here and there. Um, Nothing perfect though. The only thing that looks potentially like it could play out perfectly is this GBP JPY setup, which we'll get into in a minute. Um, but yeah, hope everyone's doing well. All that lovely stuff. This is good afternoon, Dan. How you doing? This is the first live I'm doing where I'm not really making any announcements. If you're new here, I'm live every day, 2:30 p.m. BST. All of that lovely stuff. We'll just give it a couple seconds and then we'll get started with the fundamentals. Then we'll hop in to the technicals. See what happened yesterday on all the other pairs. A bunch of that stuff. Then we'll get started on what I think will happen with GJ. But yeah, so the fundamentals for today. We've had quite a lot of news. And, it's quite a shock to the system in comparison with all these other days that we've had. We had Monday, nothing. Tuesday, barely anything, just a speech. Wednesday, we had Bank of Canada stuff. Thursday, today, is a lot of European GBP, USD news as well. So we've got a lot to look out for. We've had a lot to look out for today as well. Through 8 o'clock till like 10 o'clock, we had a bunch of PMI for GBP and the Euro, German, French, and stuff like that. We had a BRICS summit as well, day 3, but that's been going on for a while. Then at 1:30 we had unemployment claims. At 2:45 in 15 minutes we have USD PMI. So it's pretty much a PMI day. We've had PMI for Euro, PMI for GBP, PMI for USD as well. And then we have another Gov Bailey speech today, later like towards 9 o'clock. So yeah, and then tomorrow is a little bit less stuff, but today is probably the highlight of the week fundamentally. Got a lot to look out for, lots to maneuver around and avoid basically. So it's going to be a little bit difficult to trade today. I think once we've took this news out, once we've had this quarter to 3 news, we can then obviously trade how we usually do. But yeah, make sure you're liking up the stream, guys. If you're new here, live every day. No more announcements really on the Discord server for these streams, so you're going to have to click the bell, subscribe, all that stuff, so you don't miss the next one, or just put in your diary 1:30 stream. So what's going on GBP JPY? Well, first things first, we're going to have a look at Bitcoin, gold, and AUD USD as well. I don't know why Swiss francs here. But Bitcoin, we'll start off on Bitcoin, shall we? So yesterday we were looking at a potential trade to take place. I think it was on the 1 hour. As you can see, we have actually had that. It was just very risky for our entry at that specific time. If we just draw the accumulation box now, you can see what's going on here. So we we'll draw a fair value gap as well. Where's the I think it was a 4-hour one, wasn't it? Was it a 4-hour one? Or 1 hour one? Here we are. We had this fair value gap here, which had been respected previously, but it looked like we were trying to respect it here. We came into it, formed a bearish fair value gap to the downside. Good evening, how you doing? Formed a bearish fair value gap to the downside, as you can see. I'm actually going to take off the extension. Right, as you can see, we then came in, respected that, and I think around about here was where we were looking for our entry. Around about here, we were looking for our entry there. And we obviously respected that fair value gap and continued to the downside. Now, I was saying if we closed nicely outside this fair value gap, I would then look for the buys. I would take buys to the other side of this accumulation range. That's what we were talking about there. Now, we didn't do that. We instead respected this, came down, messed around here for a bit, came back up, and it looks like we are coming back up to here now. So the best entry would have been around about here. But, my entry criteria, come into a fair value gap, form a candlestick pattern, take that trade, but we had this in our way. So we would have took it, but there was that slight thing against us, which we had to listen to and obviously paid off listening to it. So what am I looking for next? Well, we've had a very internal AMD cycle on Bitcoin. It's actually pretty nice. I don't know how I missed this. You can see that now. I think now I've drawn the accumulation. You should be able to see that. We've got an accumulation here, manipulation into this fair value gap here, where we formed a candlestick pattern, like here. Then we could have took the entry around about here, targeting the other side of this, with our stops just around about here. So I don't know how I missed that, but that's what's happened internally. So really, we'd be looking for that accumulation to take place next. That's pretty much all it is. Got to wait for that accumulation to start out again. Once we start accumulating again, once we took out the other side of this accumulation range over here, once we took that out, we can start looking for an accumulation on Bitcoin. Something like that. Then from there, we then squeeze it, see it, what areas we want to manipulate into, and then take that trade. But yeah, so that's Bitcoin. Gold's, an alright setup. I think we were looking at this in the premium chat and the course chat. So we had a 1 hour fair value gap right here, which we've come into now. We were looking to manipulate into it, respect it, and then head down. But I like the way I like to trade AMD is I like very quick, explosive price action. So I like boom, boom, not like boom, da 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 da, then back down. I don't like that kind of thing. I like very quick, explosive price action, straight up, then straight back down near enough. 3 or 4 candles later, but as you can see, we kind of got this move up, consolidated, and then came up, and we've kind of just been chilling around about here now. We haven't had that explosive price action that I like to see. So it's not really the best setup anymore. It's not as good as I thought it was going to be, not as good as this, which I wanted it to be. It was just kind of a little bit of a pause here. Plus, we don't really have a candlestick pattern now, so if it's going to be a little bit messy if we form it. It's still a bit messy. It's all just stay away. Now, GBP JPY looks decent, to be fair. If we can close outside this range on the hourly. I did this analysis with a course member on a call. Basically, what we were looking at is the accumulation here, and we basically squares price. We've got alerts on either side. It either manipulates down, comes into here, and then we go up, or it does the opposite. So we got GJ in a very nice chokehold now, kind of thing. Like it either goes up and then we can short it, or it goes down and we can buy. Obviously, we have to wait for it to come into the fair value gap, form a candlestick pattern, respect it, all that stuff. But we've basically squares price now. So this is basically the only thing left for us. This is the only thing that looks decent enough to actually take. Gold is just a little bit too sloppy. Bitcoin is, Bitcoin. We're waiting for another consolidation. GBP JPY is consolidating now on multiple time frames, looking at the 1 hour specifically, looking to close outside this range on the 1 hour, have some nice explosive price action straight up into this fair value gap potentially, and then down, because my bias is bearish. If we go to the daily time frame, you can see we've got a very nice accumulation, and this is where it all kind of comes into play. So we've got a nice accumulation here, as you can see, very clean. Then we have a manipulation phase right now, which is going on. And what do we look for to end the manipulation? We look for a candlestick pattern. So we may end up continuing up into this daily fair value gap over here, taking out this IRL, the internal range liquidity. But I do think if we get the candlestick pattern here, that's like, it's the daily time frame. I think we will get a push down at some point. But if this candle closes like this, so see if I just drag this across, right? See how this closes. So pretty much if we come up here and then come down to the bottom of the accumulation range, we could still get a nice candlestick pattern here off of this, where the next day we get a bearish move to the downside. So if we consolidate for the rest of the day, then tomorrow we have a bearish move down. That would be a very nice candlestick pattern on the daily. Would have that in our back pocket, ready to take some trades. That gives us our longer term bias. Plus on the monthly as well, if we just go to the monthly very quickly, you can see that we are in fact trying to break out of that accumulation, of that fair value gap range. We've got 7 days left on that, so by the end of next week we will know if we're inverting it or not. I do think we will respect it. We have Had some very weird price action the past couple of months, but I do think we will end up respecting it. If we do end up respecting it, that gives us our bearish confluence. If we don't respect it, then obviously we're looking for buys then. But yeah, that's what's going on really. 1 hour time frame is what we're focusing on again now. Pairing it with our bias on the daily, on the weekly, on the monthly really, with that fair value gap. We're looking for sells. That's the priority, would be sells. The priority would be sells. And then if you go back to the daily as well, we've got, that bottom wick there. But also on the 4 hour, we've got a nice imbalance down here to fill. So I think if we come up into this 4 hour BPR, which is where I identified these fair value gaps, we've got a nice 4 hour BPR. Very, very strong. Very, very nice. If we come into this, form a nice candlestick pattern, we can look at taking sells off of that straight down to the other side of the accumulation range and even further down to the 4 hour imbalance that we've got to fill. So we're looking at a nice 4 hour, potentially like what, 2 to 4 hour trade, depending on how price plays out, which is very nice. Going back to the 1 hour, the accumulation, very clear, very clean. So yeah, the only setup that's looking good for us now is really GBP JPY. Yeah, that's 4 hour. I think I might have answered the question as you were asking it, but you know what I mean. But yeah, it's the 4 hour fair value gap. It's a BPR. I've got a bullish one here, then straight away form a bearish one right after it. Very clean, very strong resistance for price to react to. So yeah, that looks good. It looks like we are pushing out of it now. We'll know in the next 15 minutes or not. No worries. What we could do is we could have a look at AUD USD as well. This is just a ball ache, to be honest with you. We formed a fair value gap here. We've come back into it and obviously respected it. Seems like we're pushing down now. I think I was looking at some setup here, but we didn't get the candlestick pattern inside the fair value gap, so I didn't take that. Swiss JPY, just a mess as well. The only setup, as I said, the only place that's looking clean at the moment is this GBP JPY setup. Deeply. I can go over it for you. I'm not going to go in depth though. That's not what this stream is about. If you want to watch, if you want to get OHLC, a deep explanation, there is the free course in the Discord, or there's the fast track course, $300 for lifetime access if you want in-depth guides on all the candlestick patterns. But I will go over it for you. Let's see. Wrong thing. Turn off the background then. Alright, okay. Let's see this. So this is a bullish candle. Let's just shrink it down first. So OHLC is basically open, high, low, close. There's two variants of it. There's OHLC and OHLC and OLHC. Open, high, low, close. Open, low, high, close. So first we're going to cover open, low, high, close. We're going to cover that one first. Then we'll go over OHLC. So OLHC is open, low, high, close, where price opens low, makes a high, and closes. How does that work? So let's say we're looking at OHLC on the daily time frame. All right. If we're looking on the daily time frame, what we want to see is basically price to come down, make a low, and it'll have no top wick. And it's kind of like called like the devil's mark or whatever you want to call it. OHLC, the wick trick. So we come down and we'll have no bottom wick here. no top wick. So we come down, no top wick. This is the low of the candle. So we've opened here, come down, and the candle is currently bearish. Yeah, that's what it would look like. We'll have no top wick. We'll open here, straight down, and this is the open and then the low phase of OLHC. So we open, make the low, and then obviously we want to flip and make the high. So we use it's devil's mark. We use it on the daily time frame. It's got a bunch of names. OHLC is the one. So what we want to do is we want price to come and make a wick up here. It has to make a wick. There's basically another thing that price tells you when it's got no bottom wick or no top wick, it has no range. So it's like inside this candle here, inside this candle, it'll be like this. So we open, be a certain candle, we open, then we obviously just continue down. That's it. We just continue down. Maybe we have a retracement inside that move down, something like this. But there's no range at all. Wait there a sec. So see, that's very sloppy, but see how it's like down, down, up, down. There's no range inside of it. There's no range inside this candle. So what price will do is, price will then come up and make the range, and then it has a bottom range to trade off of, and then it might continue up like this. Whatever. But that's basically the way it forms. That's how it works. So when you go into a candle that has no bottom wick or no top wick, it basically doesn't have a top or bottom range. So it has to come up and make that at some point. Whereas when you have a candle that does have a wick, let's say we draw that out now. When you go into a candle that does have a wick, let's see, we have a wick here. Then what you'd be looking at is, so price opens, comes up, has no bottom range maybe, comes down, makes the range, and then you've got a range. You've got here and you've got here. So price can come then back up to here or whatever, and then back down here, whatever it wants to do then. But it then has a range to trade. So that's why, you don't really use this concept on candles with wicks, but with a candle with no bottom wick, no top wick, especially on OLHC when it's got no top wick, it's got no range. And if you use it on the daily time frame, I'll explain that in a second, but what you'd expect price to do is obviously come to the upside, just like this. Then it will flip and make a bottom wick, and obviously then it will come up, make the high of the candle, then come down and then close. That's what it would look like, something like that. That's what happens with OLHC. The same thing happens with OHLC, where we basically do the same thing, but we're bearish. So we'll look for, I don't know, price has no bottom wick. It's open like this, no bottom wick, comes up, comes down, closes, open high, low close. And the way this works is if you use this on the daily time frame, it's basically it's AMD. There we go, AMD on a lower time frame. So we'll open here, right? We'll start consolidating. This is on like the 15 on the 1 hour. Then we'll have a move down, which is to make the bottom wick. But then price will probably have no top wick or a very small top wick like this, and then something like that. But what you'd want to do is, if price accumulates underneath the daily open, what you'd do is then you'd look for buys. If price accumulates above the daily open, you'd look for manipulation to the upside and distribution to the downside, OHLC, OLHC, stuff like that. But that's what that would look like. So this is a daily candle forming. It opens with no top wick, so then it flips, makes the high, then closes like this, and that is consolidation, comes down, no top wick, flips to make the top wick, then cools off like here. Then the next candle opens, and the same, and the cycle repeats. And that's how it works. That's basically the gist of it. Right, so GJ looks like it's pushing out of this range now, which is great. Please check Swiss franc JPY. It's basically, if we go to the daily. So that's what's going on. So we would have looked for price to close here. What do you mean? You follow AMD lower time frame like 5 min too. Are you asking me or telling me? I don't. If you're asking me, I don't. So Swiss franc JPY. I don't really need to say anything. Like, you know, it's exactly what it was yesterday. We have closed outside this, so I'd be a little bit cautious of that. Obviously waiting for that candlestick pattern to form. Oh, okay, looks good. No candlestick pattern, but still looks good. Where'd you get in? What was your entry price? Hopefully it was up here. Looks good. But once it's took this, it does not have to continue further. Probably will come into this fair value gap though, I'm not going to lie. It's got to come and fill some of this. Yeah, there's one here. Something like that maybe. $2,738. Wait for that first bearish to close. Nice work. 2,738. Oh, it is pushing down like. Oh, it's exactly where I guessed as well. Nice work. Jeez. Pushing down. We got a fair value gap here. Let's see how we react to that. Let me just actually edit the extension. Nice. Pushing. Jeez. Fair play. Got this 1 hour. See how we react to that. Also inside the 4 hour BPR here. I'd definitely be break even like now, because if candle flips off this, it's not coming back down, I don't think. Yeah, it's just, bit of a mess. Like, I was looking for this high time frame AMD, accumulation, manipulation, and distribution, but does not seem to be playing out as well. Rodrigo, if you were looking about moving to GBP JPY, I definitely think you should start doing that now. Just move to that. Just stop all this. Very messy price action. Yeah. Price moves like that, it's very unsustainable. Like, it's got to make that range kind of thing. Like, It looks like it's respecting the 1 hour too, as you can see. Nice catch. Nice catch. GJ just messing us around still. Just waiting for that candle close. If we get a candle close outside this range, it'd be nice. Then we can push up into here, consolidate a little bit in the premium zone, then obviously move to the downside. Pretty boring, just gotta wait for this. Bitcoin, what's Bitcoin saying? Bitcoin has come and took the other side of the accumulation range as we discussed yesterday, which means all we need to do now is wait for another consolidation and we can trade that if we get a nice setup for it. Gold's the same thing. So is GBP JPY. Just wait for that move up into this fair value gap, and then we can take a nice sell. But that's it, guys. I got nothing else to share. That's pretty much it. We just gotta wait for this setup to happen. We'll talk more about this in the market outlook later. If you want to catch more, join the free Discord, all that stuff. But that's me done for the day now. I'll see you guys